How many people here have had to help a parent or a grandparent with a new cell phone? And so you had to explain to them that this is a device you generally use during the daytime and that you charge it at night when you're not using it. And you pay for it through a subscription plan that says, I, Sven, would like to talk for 1,000 minutes a month versus my lovely wife who says more like 200 minutes per month. You can tell who the extrovert and introvert is. And we selected that plan. Charge at night. Does it take all night to charge? No, it takes about half an hour. But it's plugged in all night because that's actually what's convenient. You go home, you plug it in, you forget about it until the morning when you need it. You pay for it on a subscription plan that covers everything. You just want to talk for so many minutes. This is real nice in terms of a plan. Now, only if our oil addiction problem, the problem of our oil addiction, was that easy. Our oil addiction is driving climate change. Do you remember what Michael Peavy said about climate change? I can quote him. I'm quoting him. I am quoting him because he said, we're screwed. And he said it with a delight because it was like, we're screwed. Well, we are, except we are not screwed. Everybody pinch yourself right now because we are the lucky ones. We're not the ones that are going to be affected by climate change. Just like the majority of us, and pinch yourself again, have been unscathed by war personally, pinch yourself again, we are the lucky ones. We're not going to be affected by that climate change. But our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren will, and particularly the poor and those, as I said, who are not here. And do they have a vote? Do they have a say right now? No. Air quality. How many people have been to New Delhi or Bangkok? What's the air quality like there? Not good. I grew up in North Carolina in the 70s, and I still remember, and there's no mockery intended, Sven, now you get inside because the air quality outside is worse than it is inside. Is that a way to live? The geopolitical associated with the trade imbalances and where that money goes. And right now, does anybody know what the price of oil was yesterday? It's on the way up again. It's $47 a barrel. So eventually it's yet again going to hit me in the wallet. These are all difficult things. This is a hard problem to fix. If only it was so easy like the cell phone is. And people are watching us. These are my people of importance that are watching. This is Genevieve and Sophie, and I really would have liked to have called them Sunniva and Ingrid, but my Irish-German wife, Kate, wouldn't let me. But they're watching what we do right now and the decisions we make. Fortunately, there is a solution to our oil addiction, at least in the light-duty market. And that is a solution I'd like to talk to you right now. Better Place's mission is to solve this problem of our oil addiction. It may sound trite, but Ben & Jerry's, the ice cream company that everybody's familiar with that was very successful, started with a simple mission to make great ice cream. And in my opinion, they have universally raised the bar of making great ice cream. So if Better Place comes in with the mission of ending our oil addiction and people copy us and come up with other solutions, that's great. We have raised the bar. How do we do this? First of all, we use fully functional, dedicated electric vehicles with endless range powered by renewable electricity. That's a mouthful. Let's say it together. Fully functional, dedicated electric vehicles. Dedicated electric vehicles. There'll be a pop quiz after this, so I'm helping you guys through this, okay? Especially you at the very back. You're going to get to ask the questions first. Fully functional electric vehicles with endless range powered by renewable energy. And how do we do this? The big issue with electric vehicles is cost and range. We separate the ownership of the battery from the vehicle. You still own the vehicle or lease the vehicle, and you will buy that from the manufacturer, but we retain ownership of the battery. So you don't have to worry about changes in chemistry or how it's used, or when you go to sell the vehicle and someone wants to buy your vehicle and says, now, were you in Connecticut doing V to G last week and adding extra cycles to that battery, reducing its range? You don't have to worry about that because you don't own the battery. The business model is that of a subscription. The offering is we pay for all the electricity, we cover the battery, we own the battery. To enable the endless range, we install charge spots near about everywhere, and then the occasional battery exchange system. And we do this, we install the infrastructure before the vehicles arrive. It's like, who would buy a cell phone knowing that the cell tower near your house or your commute route was going to be installed in 2 years? Would anybody do that? We put the infrastructure in before. We sit between the automobile manufacturers, we don't make cars, and the utilities. God bless you guys here. We don't make electricity. We enable renewable power onto the grid, though. So the solution is, again, lots of charge spots, the occasional battery exchange station, vehicles not made by us. What did I say? Fully functional. Sedans, SUVs, people. These are not golf carts. I wish I could say they were Teslas. Anybody know about Tesla? 2-seater, beautiful, dedicated electric sports car, goes 0 to 60 in less than 4 seconds. No golf cart there. Lotus body. I wish I could say they were all like that, but they're real cars for real people. The batteries, we own the batteries. There's an auto OS system on board that Marty talked about that tells you where you have come from, how much energy is in your vehicle. You can ask it to do evil things like track your 17-year-old, where they drove and how fast they went too. We power the vehicles by renewable energy because we are not worse place, we are better place. We're not going to exchange our oil addiction for a coal addiction. And the great thing is, because we can charge the cars when the wind is blowing, it's really easy for us to integrate renewables into the grid. Like I said, these EVs are fully functional. I'm going to airbrush Genevieve, Sophie, Kate, the dog, cat, the au pair, all into one of these vehicles sometime soon. I'm not even going to have to airbrush it. That's a great thing. I'm going to stick him in and take the picture. We don't make the cars. The real automobile manufacturers do. Charge spots. Anybody heard of the term range anxiety? Range anxiety is something that you'd want to go to therapy for to fix, right? The problem is it's too hard to send people through therapy. It's actually just cheaper to throw hardware at it. So we install a charge spot at home and at work, and another one, half one, at the big box stores, at the movie theaters, where people come and go. And we do this at the beginning so people can see that they can drive just like they want to drive wherever they want to. And this is important because the one change that someone could say, I don't like the Better Place model, is because the range of the batteries, and I'll be honest, is just like you had in the 1950s, which is about 100 miles. But think about it. How many times do you drive more than 100 miles? Charge spots everywhere because it's cheaper than therapy. Now, for those long trips, when you do want to go longer than 100 miles, there's a battery exchange station. And I know this sounds a little scientific, and I must admit, in my misbegotten youth, I drove a 5-liter cherry red convertible Mustang, and it's sort of hard for me to give up what my reptilian brain perceives as the actual power source, that is the battery. But I know that's not true because the actual power source is that motor. The battery just powers the motor. They can change that motor to make it as souped up as they want to. And they will. There will be Cobra, electric Cobras. The battery exchange station. You drive in, and in less than 5 minutes, the roughly 400-pound battery is removed, and a new one, a fully charged one, is put in. The point being that when you want to go the long distance, just like you can right now with that automobile car based on the internal combustion engine, the only reason you can go wherever you want in that vehicle is because we have gas stations. Well, in this case, we're going to have battery exchange stations. And we're not going to have a lot of them, just dotted along the highways every 20 miles, a couple in town so the taxis can exchange their batteries as well, because, of course, they're doing more than 100 miles per day. But this is what it will enable you to go those long distances. And when you care about the battery that you just gave up, this is part of the pop quiz. Somebody at the back. No, you don't care about it. Who owns the battery? So I'm focusing now on my customers and my peeps. That's you guys. So how does this sort of work from, okay, Sven, I've just gone to the automobile dealership. I've bought my Better Place car. I walked over to the Better Place booth. I signed up for 12,000 miles a year for 3 years. You know what that means? That means you don't ever have to care about what OPEC does to the price of oil again, because your transportation costs are suddenly fixed. You sign up for 3 years, you know how much you're going to be paying per month. So your bill over on the far left-hand side, the nice green bill, it's fixed. Now, as part of the offering, Better Place pays for all of the electricity, and this is where I'm going to need some help here along. So we buy renewable energy. For every kilowatt hour that goes into our batteries, we will get 1 kilowatt hour of renewable power onto the grid. They don't have to happen exactly at the same time. You guys know that. Goes down through the utility. This is charging at home. This is the hard example. It goes down through the utility, goes probably directly through your meter, and then onto a sub-meter, and then onto a meter on the car. All the communication, not all, but the majority of the communication is on the car. We're tracking through that sub-meter below your meter and the meter on the car how much energy is used. And we relay that information back to the utility. And I know that's the billing system. It's going to be a nightmare. Hopefully not all of us in this room have to worry about the billing. I acknowledge that was going to be difficult, the back-end Better Place utility dance. But what's simple about this model, what's great about this model right now, is we don't actually need to have the smart meter to deploy, because we can just put that sub-meter below even the existing meter, or even partner with you guys to help you install AMI. But the model works. The technology, both the battery technology and this technology right here, are here now. We can charge your vehicles and we can pay for it. And I can go to Marty's house, and if Marty's a Better Place subscriber, I can charge on his system again. Better Place pays for that electricity at home, at work, wherever. Again, I've got people looking, like thinking how to solve this metering problem. Please, go forth, come see me afterwards, just to make it easier for the utilities involved, because we know how old those utility companies are. Say a little bit about renewable power. How many people here have been to Starbucks coffee and got it to go? Great. Okay, you get a paper cup. How many people here have been to Dunkin' Donuts and got their coffee to go? Be honest, it's okay. Everybody likes their donuts. Dunkin' Donuts gives your coffee in a styrofoam cup or plastic cup, and Starbucks and Pete's and your higher-end coffee stations give it to you in a paper cup. They're paying an incremental price to give a better service. And if you look at that incremental price, it's probably, here's a real chemical engineering term, doodly squat compared to how often they clean the bathrooms. For us, that incremental price on renewable energy is not that great. We want to be Better Place. Again, we don't want to be worse place, but that's okay if the competition comes along. So where are we? In 2007, we started with $200 million of funding, and our first country, that is of Israel, it's a transportation island. So it's a good test bed. It's a good starting point. and we have Renault Nissan as our first automobile partners. Renault Nissan stepped over the line. They saw the future. It is electric vehicles. If you fast forward to now, all of the major OEMs are talking about how they're going to be making dedicated electric vehicles. And how much money are they spending on hydrogen research? Not much. Dedicated electric vehicles. Our second country was Denmark. Our third country was Israel. And now we're launching in California and Hawaii and Canada. And even in these tough times, because the business model works, we were able to raise $133 million to put that infrastructure in Denmark. I'm not saying this infrastructure is cheap, but when you take all of the subscribers and that infrastructure, it's cheaper than gasoline. The overall operational plus purchase price of the vehicle is cheaper than gasoline. And it has to be that way if we want to accomplish the mission. What's the mission? End our oil addiction or make great ice cream, your pick. So I want to talk to my brethren utilities here, because this is what gets me fired up and is my favorite part of the day, because I only bring good news. We are the maestro of all of those electric vehicles. We control the time they charge in a symphony format. So, of course, what are we going to do? We're going to protect the peak. We don't want to have to start up dirty old natural gas plants in California and to have to provide electricity in the end of the day. And we're going to do smart charging when that wind is there in the off-peak. And we're going to be able to do ancillary services. Think about this. Write down 2 million vehicles. Each one at home. At home, they're going to charge at about 3 kW. But let's set them at half charge. Let's set them at 1.5 kW. So 2 million times 1.5 kW, and we're doing power regulation. And all of a sudden, there's excess electricity on the grid. The utility tells Better Place, the ISO tells Better Place, hey, there's excess electricity on the grid. This is how much. And we ramp up to 3 kW because we can, a certain percentage of the vehicles, so that some power plant somewhere else doesn't have to ramp down. And the same thing happens when there's not enough electricity on this grid. We have those 2 million vehicles, and we just stop charging a percentage of them. At 3 kW, we charge at about 10 miles an hour. Think about how long you drive per day and then divide it by 2 because you'll be charging at work. And you can see how long it's going to take to charge. If you drive 40 miles round trip a day, it's only 2 hours to charge. But you come home, the car's plugged in, nothing happens for 12 hours a day just at home. So we have lots of time to charge the vehicle and lots of time, as my wife says, to play silly games with the electric utility. In the future, there will be vehicle-to-grid, hopefully, but that's a future thing. So again, what is the first thing we're going to do? We're going to protect the peak. This is California. When you come home, what does this mean to you? And you plug in. Nothing happens except Better Place knows for sure that your vehicle is plugged in. We'll also know that your 17, 18-year-old drove the car home and parked it at home but didn't bother plugging it, because you'll get messages from your cell phone, from your PDA saying, hello, Kate, Sophie didn't plug the car in again. Please plug it in. Hello, Kate, plug it in. My wife, Kate, child, Sophie. And then we'll go out and plug it in. But again, nothing's going to happen because it's peak time, and we'll wait till the right time to charge the vehicles. There's a couple ways that utilities historically have been doing this. One, they have time of use rates. So they say at 11 o'clock, it's a real cheap time to charge your electric vehicle. But what does that do? With the symphony, it is a discordant tone on the orchestra that is the utility grid, because everybody suddenly starts charging momentarily at 11 o'clock. What does that do for power demand? 3 million vehicles all at 3 kW charging, all of a sudden turning on. Do you guys want that on your system? I don't think so. We don't want that. We are the orchestra of the charging. We control the charging. And yes, there'll always be an override for the people who are paranoid, and there's always going to be the battery exchange station, so you won't run out of electricity. The charging we want to do is to harvest that wind. And we'll charge the people who have to get up early in the morning. How many people here are early risers, 4 o'clock in the morning? Okay, so you guys get charged first. How many people like to slide in? So this is Sven. This is his wife. So it's now Kate's turn. She's a late riser. How many late risers? So again, we'll charge you late risers on that middle of the night towards 4 a.m. wind that comes through. And through controlling the charge, we can do this. So, as I said, Israel is our first country, and the Israel utility grid providers, they do everything turnkey like it used to be in this country. They have no experience with electric vehicles. They said, well, what does this mean to the electric grid? And they looked at 3 scenarios. One being charged right when you get home, then a pricing incentive to move 30% of the people to off-peak, and then a better place, smart, orchestrated charging. And I hate this, but you guys already know the results. You know that if we charge on peak, lots of power plants are going to have to be built, lots of transmission, blah, blah, blah. Same thing with a partial off-peak. More, or actually less new generation, less transmission, but it's still going to have to be built. Only if you protect that peak and do the smart charging are you able to skate by and not build any more generation and not build any transmission. So this is a couple studies that Marty mentioned. UC Berkeley said we could add 1 million plug-in hybrids. This is, again, the study was a couple of years ago. As people talk about metering and you talk about plug-in hybrids, could you add and dedicated electrics? Because you're going to be seeing a lot more dedicated electrics than you are plug-in hybrids. Because there's only a couple plug-in hybrids, and all the automobile companies have talked about dedicated electrics. So sort of add that to your pitch, please. Otherwise, it makes you sound dated. Pacific Northwestern Lab, and I love this study because it actually showed the benefits to everybody once electric vehicles started coming online. Because what you're doing is, as you guys get, is you're using an underutilized resource at night, and that's the electric grid. So if you charge vehicles at night, you can actually drive down the costs for everybody. It's this wonderful win-win situation. This is Denmark. This is our second country. Israel, as you can guess, has geopolitical issues associated with their oil addiction. They intend to end their oil addiction by 2020. And that's only 2 million cars. It's the mass adoption of dedicated electric vehicles. And I know that sounds fast, but how many people here can remember 15 years ago actually not having a cell phone? Who didn't have a cell phone 15 years ago that's old enough to remember that? People here have had cell phones all their lives. But there was a time in the wasteland of communication when we didn't have cell phones. But we have all adopted them, and we adopted them really quickly because of the benefits. And if we can recognize the benefits of fully functional, dedicated electric vehicles with unlimited range powered by renewable power, as a society, as a going-forth civilization, we are going to be so much better off. But let's just jump back to Denmark and talk about vehicle-to-grid. Denmark, at night, is already occasionally dumping energy on Germany. They're giving it away to Germany, and sometimes they're going to have to pay for it to give it away. And they're looking, that's the dotted line, to double their wind production. What are they going to do with that energy? They're going to put it in vehicles at night, and during the daytime, they're going to take 1 or 2 miles out of everybody's battery. And I say miles because who cares about 1 or 2 miles of range out of everybody's battery? And upload that and shave peak and use that wind energy not when it was delivered, but when they harvested it and controlled it and put it back on the grid. I look at my wife and I, we're lucky we have one car. We both generally get to bike to work. Our works, I go this way, she goes that way. And I can see us saying to Better Place, we want the cheapo plan, because we're cheap. You can have our car sitting there, you own the battery, we'll let you cycle it every day, Monday through Friday. So what does that mean? So you'll charge it up at night, and you can take 75% of the battery by 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, because we don't care. We want the cheap plan. And who owns the battery? Better Place does. So they're the ones worried about the cycle life and all that. We don't have to worry about it. Wind is coming to the U.S. This is from The Economist just a couple weeks ago. We took the lead in wind power. And let's be honest with ourselves, it is an intermittent resource. We have to plan for it. But if we can take our transportation system and solve multiple problems of our oil addiction, climate change, air quality, you name it, we are doing great things for everybody. And we're driving the cost down for that renewable resource. Maybe we'll get to Google's REC, renewable energy less than coal, sooner than we think, because we're using it right now. Like I said, I get to bike to work every day. I'm lucky. I enjoy it. It's like exercise on the margin. And I pass by a gasoline station. And I've watched the prices go up, and I've watched the prices come down. And you know what I'm going to be doing next week? Or tomorrow, actually? I'll be watching the prices go back up. Because like I said, oil's back up to $47 a barrel and is on the way up. And I'm thinking about, why am I doing this? What is the big problem here? And I go back to this whole thing about our oil addiction and climate change. And then I think about my girls, and everybody's got girls like Genevieve and Sophie somewhere, grandchildren, children, and grandchildren to come. And they're going to be asking us why we didn't act. And what did you do? And I want you all to go away from here, just like Boone Pickens said, and sign up for the Pickens plan, but also for the Better Place plan. Because there is room for everybody here. There's room for multiple solutions. We can do it. Thank you.